Welcome to the Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show we'll have talked about Linux projects such as a distribution, desktop environment. We haven't done one of those in a while. Maybe we should. Does anybody have a desktop environment they want to talk about at any point in time? Pop, the whole, the new Pop OS maybe? I don't know. We should talk about something desktop environment related. We also chat about the news, like today, or any variety of topics from the community. I think that's Linux tech and open source related. Is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the openSUSE project. And with me today, I got a fantastic panel of people. I've got Eric, Mike Chilson, Jinda, new to Linux, or good new to Linux, Eris, Adam Grubbs, and Dale of Low Tech Linux fame. How is everybody?
Excellent.
Been good.
All right. Whoop, whoop. Raise the roof. All right. So on the docket for today, we are going to talk about a straw poll, do our news flight night, a little bit of housekeeping, a community free poll with Mike and his applications we're working on, this Marklite. But first, what are we doing on Linux and tech? Kind of threw Mr. GNU to Linux under the bus, only because he's friends with Eric, and I felt like, that's the thing to do. If you're friends with Eric, under the bus you go. So what have you been doing on Linux and tech? It's all you.
Jim, he's talking to you, brother.
Yeah, he's talking.
Oh, I'm starting.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
That's it. You're the one I'm throwing under the bus.
Well, I have been working on a few things. Most notably, I updated to Mint 22.1 recently, which I had to do because I was just out of space on my hard drive. So it had to be done. I did a fresh install and reinstalling all my programs and customizing everything took quite a while.
So let me ask you that. So I know that it had been historically, like long ago. We're talking like probably 8 years ago now at this point, since it is 2025. That there was it was pretty customary to nuke and pave going from one Linux mint to another. That was pretty customary. And in fact, I think most distributions, I felt like that was maybe 10 years ago now. I don't know. I didn't do it. But anyway, when you do like a nuke and pave, would you say that kind of feels like you are breaking away from everything that maybe you experimented with and just kind of a fresh start? Or what is the, so like how does it feel? Is it like a fresh coat of paint in a room you remodeled? Or what's kind of the experience there that you're shooting for?
Okay, well, I can answer this question. For my case, I had no choice. I have a 13-year-old laptop that I am speaking to you on right now, and it works wonderfully. Has a lot of RAM for its era, and I'm happy with it.
Well, what is it?
However, it's a Sager brand, which is like it's a pretty high-end at the time laptop that I purchased. It's like a third generation, so it's ancient, in modern terms, but
Sure.
at the time it was a pretty high-end laptop, and I'm quite comfortable with it. It almost looks brand new. I love the screen. I love everything about it, and it works great with Linux Mint. And I had 2 internal hard drives that came with it, 120 gigs apiece. For years, one had Windows and the other was data. Then I put Linux Mint 21.3 on one of the drives about in 2023. But since then, I filled the drive up. I have, local storage for Thunderbird and RSS feeds and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I was just out of space. I had no choice. If I had my druthers, I wish I could have just upgraded, if it would have worked, to go from a major release like 21.3 to 22 and beyond. However, I didn't have that choice because I didn't have the hard drive space. So in my case, it wasn't a choice. I had to buy a new hard drive for 20-something dollars.
Okay.
And and I was
Did you go SSD?
anxious about doing it.
Did you go SSD instead of spinning Rust or?
It's a lot of, I'm very particular about my systems. So it took a while for me. I still don't have everything like exactly the way I had it before.
Okay.
It's it's going to take me, more days and weeks to really get it, exactly the way I want. But the things that I was worried about not working, like for example, I use one particular old Windows program, ancient Windows program, and it works fine, but it's one of those things where, okay, I'm starting over. Is it going to work? Do I have to play around with it? Luckily, it all works so far.
Well, that's good. So now, have you noticed with the upgrade anything particularly missing that you at this point, or would you say the whole Flatpak ecosystem is kind of smoothed over most of that?
Okay, well, you just teed me up. I'm not going to go on a rant, but I'm anti-Flatpak.
Oh,
I don't use I know I'm on an Ubuntu system. I do not like Flatpak. I've never used one in my life. I
oh,
don't use snaps either. Uh, I
app
won't go on a
images.
whole rant, but I'll just say this. With an Ubuntu-based system like Linux Mint, you got the software store, you got system packages through the command line.
Mm-hmm.
I make liberal use of several PPAs for certain programs that you want to have updated. Being on Ubuntu, you can do that, Ubuntu base. And then I have a handful or so of app images, which I can use. So
Okay.
I've managed to avoid all Flatpaks so far.
Hey, it's your system. You do with it what you want. And I think that's kind of the beauty of the whole thing. I myself, I'm kind of I think I've grown lazy. I think, and if I, I think if I can make it as easy for me as possible at this point, I kind of do that. And I'm not saying that's the right strategy or the good thing to do, because I think that can also get you hemmed up as well. But I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting though. So is there anything in the official repos or as an app image that's missing from the previous version of Mint to now? That's what I'm curious about.
Has there been anything that I've struggled to find?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's only one app, a rather obscure one that I used to use
Which is?
it's called Kupfer, Kupfer. It is a launcher, not dissimilar from Albert or Rofi or some of these other ones that people use to
Okay.
as a file finder or an app launcher. But in
Okay.
my case, I use it as a file finder really to find directories or files. And according to the GitHub, uh, it may or may not work under Ubuntu 24.04, which is what Mint 22.1 is based on.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't take a chance. I could have installed it through the PPA and tried it and say, hey, maybe it would work. The developer made it sound like that was it. That was the end of the line. So instead, I did switch to a different launcher called Albert, which is pretty nifty. I think I installed that from a deb file, if I recall correctly. Also another option on Mint or Ubuntu-based systems. If it's a trusted, publisher, you can use a deb file. I do the same for Discord. And it works pretty nice.
All right. I think Eris just put a link to what's Kupfer or whatever. Kupfer, yeah, Smart Quick Launcher. I know I've just kind of always used the Plasma one, so I've never really explored the world of launchers. So that's a whole different ball game to me.
Yeah, I think
Well, I'll tell you what they're useful for. In my case, I don't use them to launch apps. I use SuperKey, and type the name of the app for that. But if you have a lot of files and a lot of directories and even on external hard drives, you can define what ones you want to be indexed. So with, hit Control Shift or whatever your keyboard combo is, and just type the letters of the file or directory, and it'll bring you right there.
Gotcha.
So it's a quick way to navigate, in a GUI system rather than a command line system. And it will also, Kupfer was neat because it will also let you open up the directory or the file that you've found in any app that you want, using another couple of keyboard shortcuts.
Got it. Interesting. The more you know. Do. Although Eris, that was pretty funny there. PPA is the new Coke. I think that's hilarious, and you should have just said that. Anyway, well, I can understand the because a friend of mine, he's very anti-Flatpak, doesn't like app images, doesn't like snaps, doesn't even really like Docker, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong on that one. And he wants to have complete control. He's more of an Arch, like he came from the Arch world, but he's been using Tumbleweed because it's just it rolls the necessity to be a very engaged sysadmin for a Tumbleweed system is not as critical as an Arch system. So he doesn't like using Flatpak. So I've had complaints. I had to help him with something. I says, well, I just installed the Flatpak. He goes, I don't like Flatpaks. I'm like, all right, well, I get it. So that to me, that's not all that foreign to hear that from you. But yeah, I get it. So I mean, for me, I'll run Windows applications in Linux too. So I'm very unpicky about these things. I'll take whatever I can get, to include web apps, even Electron-based. So, well, cool. Well, I'll be interested in hearing like how this progresses. So you're gonna be talking about it on the Mintcast, you said, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm
So
sure I
you
will,
can
and some other
absolutely
things.
feel free to plug that too. I don't have any. I like to hear what people do. It's more fun for me than to,
Sure.
So you and Eric are on that together, right?
That's right, and a few other people as well.
Oh, okay. And any is Leo still doing that? I haven't actually listened to Mintcast in a while. No.
It's
Lou
been
kinda
around a long
moved-
time, so I'm sure the cast of characters has changed over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leo kind of moved on to user, um,
Linux user space.
yeah, Linux user space, and he does OTC, Linux OTC. Yeah, I think he does a couple things like that, but yeah, he moved on from Mintcast.
It's all good. Everything changes. Well, neat. All right. Well, cool. Yeah, I guess if should you come back, I'd love to hear how it's going with some of the changes and if there's any hiccups that you may have stumbled upon. But yeah, it's interesting. I like a good distro refresh story. I think we don't have enough of those here on Linux Saloon. So if anybody else has those, in the future, I'd gladly talk about them. Well, thank you so much. All right, I think I got some notes for that. Hopefully I can make it appear well in the show notes. I should probably put the Linux Mintcast on there as well. More on Linux Mintcast. So, all right, cool. All right, so I guess we should go ahead and get to the straw poll. If you have not done so yet, please do knock out that straw poll about do you use an RSS reader, not counting a podcast app. So if you'd like to do that, that would be groovy. And then I guess you can go ahead and take it away, Aris.
Let me go over the replies that I got first, so give some people more time. First reply, I use self-hosted Fresh RSS as an aggregator, the Fresh RSS web UI on the desktop, and NetNewsWire as a client on iOS. And then somebody else said, I have tried quite a few RSS readers and prefer FeedBro Firefox extension on my laptop and Feeder, not Feeder.co, on my Android phone as far as individual apps. I also found a free-to-use instance for Fresh RSS online that works pretty well and allows one to sync the read state between various devices, which is nice. I also use the web interface on my laptop and ReadDrops app on my Android phone and Fire HD tablet to read Fresh RSS feeds. And then somebody else said, I only use RSS for the Linux Mint blog and to get my fuel economy for each fuel up from Fuely. I haven't come up with anything else I want to add. I gave up on the news a long time ago, so I am back. I am drawing a blank for anything else. And the last message is quite long, so if you bear with me. I'll share why I use RSS for certain things and why it makes sense for these particular cases. 1. Frequently or irregular updated media, such as blogs, newsletters, or websites. The way you get notified when there are new updates instead of having to check yourself when and if you remember to. Examples would include the Linux Mint blog, Thunderbird blog, or other tech news. Other niche sites that don't get a lot of updates are too spread out to check regularly. 2. Aggregating disparate disparate but related media. I like to read a number of old school newspaper comics and online web comics, but they aren't available in one place. However, many of them do have RSS feeds, so I have my RSS feeder reader gather them all daily so I can read the news. I can read the new comics like XKCD or Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal every day as they come in. 3. Isolating niche topics by keyword or author on busy media properties. One can use RSS to subscribe to particular topics on many expensive sites that are overwhelming or impossible to read. Um, let's try and place a possible to read in full, like Reddit, Hacker News, Lobster.rs, and many others. You can subscribe to particular subreddits or follow particular users that are interested who publish safe for work or not, or even not safe for work content on Reddit. For example, another case you can arrange to just get notifications for a particular keyword, like say FreeBSD, on many forums separating the wheat from the chaff, and finding a very precise digital needle in a proverbial online haystack. 4. Targeting new content and contents by category specifically. For example, I get an RSS feed for my local county library from a third-party site called Wowbrary, WOWBRARY, that compiles a list once per week for every non-fiction book or DVD added to their collection. You can also specify more specific categories like romance, education, etc. And 5, avoid enshittification. One use I particularly enjoy is being able to follow X accounts, formerly known as Twitter, even without having an account myself, using a combination of knitter and RSS to create a timeline in my RSS feeder or RSS reader.
Maybe I missed it, but what does he use?
Mm,
I'm sorry I wrote such a long post. I had no idea you were going to read it on the show, but yeah, that was my explanation for all the different uses I find. So for RSS, it's not good for everything, in my opinion, but it's good for a lot of things, and I explain them in text form.
Yeah, it's what I find interesting is, well, I haven't used an RSS feed in a while, and actually I blame the KDE PIM for failing on me, actually. So I've been looking at maybe subscribing to some RSS feeds once again. I just haven't found one that yet, I guess. So what is it that you use?
Okay, well, he read it, but I know it's kind of hard to pick up on that when it's just being read off like that. But I mean, what I can explain more extemporaneously, perhaps, is I think there are certain things that RSS does very well. It doesn't do everything well. I wouldn't, use it for everything, but there are certain things it does do well. So that was what I was trying to explain. So
Right.
the actual app I use, as it said. I'm partial. If you want an app that's just on your laptop, I love Feeder. It's a Firefox extension.
Okay.
It works beautifully. It looks nice. It works great. I highly recommend it. If you want an app just on your Android phone or tablet, I recommend Feeder. Excuse me. On the laptop, it's FeedBro Firefox extension. On Android, it's Feeder, not Feeder.co. And those are freestanding apps. They're both great for what they are. However, if you want to use an app if you want to read RSS feeds on multiple devices, what you really need is a service that lets you stay in sync.
Uh-huh.
And in that case, many of those are paid services, but I managed to find a free one, a free instance of fresh RSS. You could also self-host it. And somebody like you might do that, but I found a free one online that's working for me pretty well.
Huh. Yeah, I think I'd like to do that. The other thing too was Calibrate. Remember the application Calibrate? It's an ebook reader. You can have that subscribed to RSS feeds, and it'll create an ebook that it'll send to your Kindle. And I've used that quite a bit too, but I don't know that. It's been a while since I've used that. So I don't even know if that feature still works, honestly. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I guess I haven't really even thought about RSS feeds until Eris put this poll together. It's interesting to see. Yeah. Oh, I guess you should probably get to the poll itself, right?
The result. Yeah, I added that comment even though it was long because I thought it had a lot of little details that somebody might find interesting and
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah.
You should go to the Discord if you're really interested to follow up, after this conversation. It's all in the Discord, what he read.
Okay.
Linux Saloon, of course, Discord.
Right. Get that out there, I think.
Usually I don't say who it is because the poll is anonymous, so I try to keep any comments anonymous too.
Well,
Which is,
I don't mind taking credit.
okay. Um, uh, so do you use an RSS reader, not counting podcast app? And number one answer was yes with 54%. No follows with 43%. Other 4%. Nobody said text me one. So pretty close.
Oh,
54 to 43.
that's pretty close. What the chat says. I didn't look at the chat. I was pretty enthralled in that answer there. Oops. So Ann Rita says, LifeRe, REA, is another app I use for reading my news. And yeah.
I use the built-in one for Thunderbird.
Oh, there's a built-in one for Thunderbird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's I don't know. I wouldn't say I've used more advanced ones, but quite honestly, the amount I think when I used it more for research and wanting to stay ahead of, like stay up on the most current events, that made sense to put that level of effort in. But now there's really just a handful of sites that I like to follow in terms of their RSS feed. And yeah, the one that's built into um, Thunderbird works. It's nothing like amazing, and it really just reuses the same UI paradigm as an email, basically. So it comes in the where the email column is, and then you click it, and then on the right, instead of the body of the email, you'd see whatever the body of the RSS is, and then be able to go out and load it. But yeah, I mean, it works fine.
So it comes in like it's one of your email accounts sort of thing. Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, and it has it broken out. I mean, it's a section called blog and news feeds. And then, yeah, each one is a line item like an email address would be, or an email account. And then, yeah, it checks and you have the same configuration options. You can set it to how frequently you want it to check and all that sort of thing. But yeah, kind of one of those path of least resistance things.
Yeah, and I think I told you I've been using Thunderbird now as my main email client because I can integrate the Exchange, Access Exchange, my Googly stuff that I have to use for coordinating, which I don't talk about, and then my Cubicle Nate stuff all into one. And what's really nice about Thunderbird, like over the what I had been using, is it doesn't crash on me or just stop working without me letting me know. So that's been pretty nice. But yeah, it's actually pretty reliable and works pretty well. And the integration is, I pay for the Exchange integration, but having Teams in there as well, even though it's just a tab, it's just a web page basically. But having the Teams in there has actually been really nice to have. Just it's been making my ability to stay on top of things way better. So, but yeah, I'll have to look into the RSS feed inside Thunderbird. It might work well. But I'm gonna be exploring that. In fact, I think that might be a good segue. Not yet. Housekeeping will for sure. But any thoughts on maybe RSS feeders for the next application Appetizer? Anyway, so
I just wanted to remind everybody that if sometimes people want a podcast of the show, there's no a podcast, but you can always use the RSS from YouTube to subscribe to the channel, and you can get your kind of like a pseudo podcast way that way.
I don't even know how to do that. Very cool. Any other thoughts on RSS feeders? I think Dale was so excited he just left. See, look at that.
Well, I could add about Thunderbird. It is a very good RSS reader, and it does treat your feed items like email. It will store them like email. So unlike some other readers, they won't, depending on your settings, they won't time out and disappear.
Okay.
Even if the content gets pulled off the internet
It stays
later
there.
at the source, your Thunderbird has it.
Oh,
So
Ooh,
that's
that's-
another benefit of it.
that's an interesting benefit. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Wonder Thunder says same. I didn't know Thunderbird did RSS. So look at that. Look at we're learning so much tonight. We're getting so many new wrinkles in our cranium. Man,
There you go. Yeah.
I tell you what, it's hurting already.
It does Usenet too. It's a
Right.
Usenet newsreader.
Oh, really?
Thunderbird. It still is. I know it's not popular like it was years ago, but it also has that capability.
I haven't even looked at a Usenet site in a long time.
Back in the day, I made a lot of use of Usenet.
Yeah. When you say back in the day, what, like, throughout a year?
Late 90s, early 2000s. I think my ISP here in South Florida got rid of, like many other ISPs all across the country, they got rid of the Usenet news service as part of their service years ago, like 2008, 2010. Most of them are gone.
You think that's because of Google? People just Google the information.
They didn't want to deal with such an uncontrollable protocol that wasn't the World Wide Web. They didn't want to deal with all the sketchy content that was posted on there that nobody had any way to stop.
That's probably a good point. Yeah, and now we have some governments trying to destroy the internet. But anyway, here we are. So speaking of destroying, let's probably go ahead and get on to the news flight night. So, Eris, thank you very much for throwing a lot of this together. And,
What was that segue?
I don't know.
Speaking of destroying,
It's called
that's good.
get stuck in a wet paper bag, can't get out, you know?
Hey, I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah. So our first news story comes from bleepingcomputer.com. It's Google to verify all Android devs to protect users from malware. So Google is introducing a new defense for Android called developer verification to block malware installation from side-loaded apps sourced from outside of the official Google Play App Store. For apps on Google Play, there was already a requirement for publishers to provide a DUNS or Data Universal Numbering System number, introduced in August of 23. Google says this has had a notable effect on reducing malware on the platform. However, the system didn't apply to the vast developer ecosystem outside of the App Store. We've seen how malicious actors inside hide behind anonymity to harm users by impersonating developers and using their brand image to create convincing fake apps. The scale of this threat is significant. Our recent analysis found over 50 times more malware from the internet side-loaded sources than on apps available through Google Play. Although the threat is more prevalent outside Google Play, the developer verification requirement applies to both apps on Google Play and apps hosted on third-party app stores. Starting in 2026, all apps installed on certified Android devices must come from developers who have verified their identity with Google. Early access to the developer verification program will begin this year in October. The system will open to all Android application developers in March of 26. September 26th, the identity verification requirement will become mandatory for Brazil, Indonesia, Singapore, and Thailand before it rolls globally in 27. The expected effect is to have sideloading non-compliant apps blocked by the operating system with a security message on certified devices. Certified Android devices are those that have passed Google's compatibility test suite and are approved to ship with Google Play Services, Play Store, and Play Protect. In practice, this encompasses all mainstream devs from Samsung,
Xiaomi.
Xiaomi,
Xiaomi.
Xiaomi, Motorola, OnePlus, Vivo, and the Google Pixel line. Non-certified devices are those from Huawei, Amazon Fire tablets, and shady Chinese TV boxes or smartphones that use heavy modified OS images and questionable components. Those devices are not subject to the new rule enforcement, and their users will be able to continue sideloading APKs from unverified and anonymous developers. So, to me, this sounds good and bad. On one hand, I like the idea of verification and protection. On the other hand, if I'm just like, how do you? I feel like it does take away some of the control you have over your device, and so I think it's good. I think it's bad at the same time, and maybe it's best for Android because of the user base themselves. You have to protect the users, but do you think it's overstepping?
I think the idea that you can't override it, even if you were to, unlock like developer tools or, you know, do some like extraordinary thing that's not just simply agreeing. Like I could understand if they wanted to change that prompt that you get, where like right now, if you try to, install an APK from just like some random source or from like a different application other than the Play Store, it'll ask you, are you sure you want to do this? That's a meaningless prompt for a non-technical person because they don't understand the ramification of it. So if Google's trying to save people from making a mistake, then that I can get behind. Like maybe making it so that you couldn't sideload until you went through some measure to do it. But the fact that you can't do it or wouldn't be able to with this type of a change, I think is going to be a problem for a lot of people who count on Android to be a more open platform than something like, iOS. And it's also true, it's harder and harder to put a custom ROM on a phone now. The bootloaders are being pretty much universally locked down. So it's just becoming basically, just harder and harder to do anything that's, outside of the absolute sort of norm. And, and I use F-Droid a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if anyone else does, but I'm pretty sure this is going to, be a pretty fundamental change for them because everything in F-Droid is signed by F-Droid. So it's not individual developers. And I think that Google doesn't like that and won't sort of let them continue to do that. So I don't know. I'm not sure, but it'll be a bummer because I definitely have a bunch of stuff that I use in F-Droid that just isn't in the Play Store. And I also have, I'm sure, at least a few APKs that I installed just from downloading them from GitHub or something like that, simply because, yeah, I get that I'm not the typical Android user, but still shutting me out completely is not going to be a desirable thing, and it'll be a pretty big bummer if they actually go through with that.
I think it probably depends on exactly how strict and how they execute it, I think, as well. And we are a couple of years away from it. Things can change for sure. So this is probably the first line in the sand they're putting.
I think, don't you think, like, too, because I'm developers trying to test things, if it's all about the signature and you can only install something if it's in the store, it just sounds like it's going to be very cumbersome to technical people or even a company who's developing their own app and maybe they want to run it internally and they don't want it in the Play Store. I can think of a half a dozen reasons off the top of my head why locking it down completely would be a bad idea, but
Yeah, it seemed like if you put it in a developer mode, and then you're already taking responsibility for your device at that point anyway. So it seems like that would be the fix. That would be the workaround. I don't know, and maybe there will be a work. I'm sure there'll be some kind of workaround, but I think War Thunder says it pretty. He says it almost sounds like Google is pulling an Apple. I could be.
it does. It feels very much like that. And I also wonder, I don't know, anything in Android nowadays, I have to wonder what the motivation is. If this is something that's maybe because they're going to stop building Chrome OS or they're going to rebase Chrome OS, or let's okay, they're going to make Android a version of Android to run on Chrome tabs. So maybe this is something for that. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I'm a little. It would be disappointing if it is in fact that they do this. So
I thought it was interesting that they said that our recent analysis found 50 times more malware internet side loaded sources than from the Google Play Store. That Google Play Store should be minuscule. You know, they're reviewing everything that goes in there, yet viruses are constantly found on the Google Play Store.
that's
So I,
because
w-
they're just using heuristics. I mean, they're not actually. Nobody's really reviewing
so
anything.
I felt like mentioning that.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I think I forgot to review, but I think this has to do with the fact that they got in trouble for having a more open Play Store, like the side loading. That that court ruling they had. I forgot exactly what happened, but because they're not like Apple, they're closed down. They did have a ruling against them, and I think this inspired this. I think that came about because of this, but I don't remember what exactly the ruling was. But the way they were more open actually counted them against them in that ruling. I can't remember what the thing said, but I should have reviewed that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think you're right, Eris. There should be none, but I guess I kind of wonder, like, why do people have to ruin things? You know, can't we just stop? You know,
It-
flipping
we
turds.
couldn't give up because it's like a device, right? If you set it to a computer, like you can't install any program that's not made by or signed by whatever
Microsoft
company. Yeah.
or yeah. That's
Like
how I feel about it.
For Microsoft, it's like the drivers now, right? The drivers have to be signed, and now signed drivers, the signature has been used to send malware, I think too. People have stolen the thing, completely sidestepping the protection of the drivers. But
Yeah, it does seem like actually as you go on, Eris, it's feeling a little more dystopian than when I initially read it. You know, we have to. I don't know, or maybe
and one last thing,
yeah.
I will say, they talk about this whole thing, the way they sell it. It's all about malware, right? But there's no regulation or anything that says that it is because it goes against their terms of service, which they themselves control and nobody else's.
I don't know. Yeah. Hmm. So what do you think this means for the mobile phone market? You think that as the emperor squeezes, that more systems will slip between the fingers, or do you think this is going to be kind of
I just yeah,
end of
I
end
would
of fun?
hope that if they keep making it less and less um, flexible and um, so it's just like Linux, right? I mean, the Linux desktop is never going to be mainstream. There will never be a year of the Linux desktop. I'm very confident in saying these things. I'm not being pessimistic and I'm not being negative. I'm just saying like it
I
is
don't
what
know,
it is.
6% now. We're at 6%.
Oh, slow down.
Slow down there,
No,
Brushfire.
yeah. All right. We might hit double digits one of these days. You never know. No, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But like the point I'm trying to make, where I was going with that is, I would be fine with iOS and Android doing whatever they wanted if I had an open alternative. And the really crappy part is because of the drivers and the blobs for the hardware, and because of, the apps being the king, apps are king, right? I mean, that's what everybody what drives everything, adoption and development and where the money goes. Um, and until I can have an open device, I'm kind of counting on Android being the lesser of two evils. I can't get on with iOS. Like I just can't do it.
Yeah, I understand.
I've tried and I just can't do it. So, Android was at least open enough for me to do some things. I mean, I gave up on custom ROMs a long time ago because they're just not worth the hassle, frankly. There's not the risk versus reward kind of thing just isn't there. You're not getting anything meaningfully better, in my opinion. So
I
anyway, I wish
the
there was like, good.
was it the one caveat I have to that is if you have an older device or something like a Kindle device and you want to have kind of break away, like do your own there are still cases, at least for me, for rooting and ROMing a device, but it's usually a little bit older and there's another. I have ulterior motives, I guess, not having a phone
Yeah,
at home and such. But those are special cases.
yeah. Well, if there was an alternative that was even remotely usable, I think there would be, um, you know, we've had PinePhone and they just can't, they actually just stopped making, or they're going to stop making the PinePhone Pro. Um, it just seems like every time there's a chance at something open, it just never kind of pans out, and it really does come down to the hardware and the radios and having access to the underlying drivers and the hardware and all that stuff. Like it's just not it's never going to be fixed at the way it currently works, So um, it's a shame that it's the way it is, but it kind of we're just in this two-player market. And at least from a fully functional, yes, you can use a smartphone sized device and run something other than Android and iOS on it, but it's not a full smartphone experience where you'd have apps like for your bank and, like just the expectation nowadays that you have a smartphone, you know.
I think one of the things that con- concerns me about the whole mobile thing is that there are so many there's so many things that require you to have a mobile device or do things on a mobile device that almost forces you to have them. So like dual factor authentication, which I kind of get it. Although I think Bitwarden's got a very nice one that frees you from the phone. It does lock you into their system, but at least you have some flexibility there. If I lose my phone and I'm using Bitwarden as my, the one-time password code thing, then I still have a way to get to that. If I lose my phone, then I got to redo everything for that. So, or if I want to move mobile phones, whatever, there's such a pain in the tuchus at this point. So like a new phone to me is a nightmare, at least a work phone specifically. The fact that I feel like my banking app is so dependent on my mobile device, which kind of bothers me also. That it seems like can I do life without your mobile app, or can I just use it on the computer? And you can. I can't deposit checks on the computer, but I can.
But I mean, you understand why. I mean, a phone, because of the biometric aspects and because of it's inherently more secure, or at least it can be based on, biometrics based on, the fact that you have it with you. It's just tends to be a more convenient device. And for things like financial, medical, like there are certain verticals where, apps make more sense than just a general website does in a lot of cases. And so, I don't love having an app for everything on my phone, and I try not to like have 1,000 apps on my phone, but I definitely have the ones that make my life easier. And but yeah, I mean that's why financial institutions, everybody push towards a smartphone is because it is, or theoretically can be more secure
It's
than
a
just
trusted
any
platform.
random computer. Yeah, it's a trusted platform.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just
I
don't know how.
avoid the banking apps as a plague. I never try. I try never to use them. If I have to use them for like check deposit, I download it, log in, then take it off. I never keep it on my phone. And once I found out that I could actually do the check deposit without needing the app, I never downloaded it again.
I have like a firewall type app where basically I anything like that where I just want it to work when I want it to work and be sort of locked otherwise. That's I use an app that kind of is like a firewall, almost like a jail in a way, where it just like there's no access to other files on the device, no access to network connection. And then whenever I want to use that thing, then I'll like it's kind of hard to use to sell something on Facebook Marketplace and not have Messenger somewhere because otherwise you're gonna have to like literally be in front of your computer all the time. And so that's a good example. Like if I have something for sale on Marketplace, I will let Messenger have a network connection, but otherwise, and honestly, it's just a pain in the butt to install and uninstall and reinstall every single time. So you're more diligent than I am.
I've kind of gone the other way with the whole app thing. Like I don't have many apps on my phone, but certain websites that I go to for specific functions, I've turned into apps using quick web apps instead of browser tabs. So in a way, I've sort of installed a bunch of apps on my computer. So I think maybe I'm in the wrong on this one after this discussion.
But web apps are completely different because the browser controls them, right? You have to ask for permission directly for everything, pretty much.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a lot more restricted than just the regular apps.
That's true.
Can be.
And I don't have Facebook on my phone. I don't have Instagram or anything like that. I do have Twitter, Twix, but I don't have anything else. I don't know, do I even
No, I don't do social media apps either.
Discord, Telegram, Signal, Teams, and Matrix. That's what I got. But anyway.
There you go.
Yeah. Teams is for work. I need to have that. It's got me. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. Brave new world we're living in. I don't know what it's going to be like long term because it seems like if everything starts just to kind of go down a dark path, something usually happens. So I'm not really worried, but I'm a little bit concerned, if that makes any sense. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Well, if we had reasonable privacy laws and controls in place, I'd feel much better about everything I did on my
I think we've
smartphone.
gone backwards on that recently with the whole AI revolution.
It just
So-
keeps getting worse, man.
And even if there are laws we have in this country, if they establish laws, that doesn't stop other countries from doing whatever they want. So we're kind of nothing you can do there now. So yep. And I yes, the Fratum, yes, the company does pay for my phone. So yep. And since I make a lot of the calls for things, I have to know that's happening, which isn't necessarily fun at 3:00 in the morning, but it is what it is. So, all right. Well, for some better news, although this article isn't exactly really complimentary of it, openSUSE launches a new revamped website. Now, from linuxiac.com. I'm gonna go ahead and give my own punditry on this one, but it says openSUSE launches revamped website. The openSUSE website is live, yet the redesign leaves much to be desired, with noticeable gaps and improvements, and still needed across the board. All right, do they not know that it's like the openSUSE is like a community project? So, yeah. Anyway, so openSUSE has quietly, for a reason, rolled out a major refresh of the website. Well, to the homepage, to be more exact. If you're curious, head over to opensuse.org and see it for yourself. Right away, the color scheme stands out, and honestly, the pale green works really well. The whole look feels cleaner and more modern, definitely closer to today's design standards. I also really like the main navigation. It's simple and easy to follow. just news, desktop OS, and server OS. Unfortunately, that's where the good things with this design stop. Let me explain. Above the fold, the part of the web page that's visible to the user without having to scroll down, which is considered the most valuable area of the web page, we've got the slogan, Embrace Chameleon. Sure, for those of us already in the loop, this might sound fun, but for someone like John who's brand new to Linux, this means, well, nothing. Most slogans mean nothing. I mean, really? Okay. In my opinion, it would be far cleaner to take the Linux Mint approach with something simple like, what is Linux Mint? Or in the case, what is openSUSE? Nothing more, nothing less. The next big oversight, at least in my view, has to do with the distro flagship offerings. Think about it. For years now, Tumbleweed and Leap have been the core of what makes openSUSE, well, openSUSE. Yet instead of being front and center, they tucked it away further down the page, below a block of 6 cards and a breakdown of installer options with a section labeled Most Popular Flavors. Honestly, what's going on here? After the word openSUSE, the two others that matter most are Tumbleweed and Leap. So why are they treated like secondary details? That just doesn't make sense. Not to mention Aeon, an amiable, still in development distro, has showed up as a specialized flavors list, though I'm not even sure it's actually part of the openSUSE project. It is. And now back to where I started. openSUSE's website redesign really only applies to the homepage. Once you click away from it, everything looks the same as before. The problem is that the lack of consistency feels confusing. Almost like the site is just a bunch of separate pieces loosely stitched together with no real connection between them. It's hard to understand why the project with openSUSE's reputation would roll out a design for just one page, leaving the rest untouched. If this were cited as some smaller distro run by a single passionate developer, it would make sense. But we're talking about openSUSE here, and when expectations are set that high, people naturally expect the presentation to live up to them. With that in mind, there's really no need to dive into why the redesign site prominently features the old "Ahoy, this is openSUSE" welcome greeter, especially since the distro just announced a newer, more modern replacement a few days ago. In conclusion, giving the openSUSE website a fresh look is definitely a step in the right direction. Other popular names like Linux Mint, Fedora, and Manjaro have already modernized their online presence in the past couple of years, so it makes sense for openSUSE to follow suit. That said, the current redesign still leaves plenty of room for improvement. If the goal is to have a website that reflects the quality of the distribution itself, which, without a doubt, is one of the best in the entire Linux ecosystem, hopefully, with time, these rough edges will get smoothed out, and the site will truly live up to what openSUSE represents. I think it's a little bit harsh. Number one, because, I mean, with these things, it's somebody who's taken on the task, and they're working on it, and so they get it done when they get it done. So, I don't know. I like the new look. I thought the old site was fine too. So, I don't know. I think it's a bit harsh on that.
Can we just say that it's no distro watch?
What's that?
Can we just say that it's no distro watch? The new openSUSE.
Yes, we can. So
Because I don't know why people for the longest time, distro watch was like the mark that everybody compared. Like, oh, the Linux Mint website was terrible, and they compared it to distro watch, and somehow distro watch was like the mark of a bad website. Even though I guess it is kind of ugly, but I mean it's usable. Design, it has a lot of subjectivity to it. I personally didn't like the way the Debian website got changed, which is pretty much just the front page, kind of like openSUSE. But certain things got improved, like of course the download button for Debian, and here I mean seems organized. I don't know.
I like it.
I think, I mean, if you're on the page and you click on News or Desktop OS, which is, we're talking second row essentially, clicking on Desktop OS takes you right to Tumbleweed and Leap. So, yeah, it's the older design, but the older design is fine. I mean,
And they might change that too.
oh, I'm sure they will.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with the new design. I have no problem with the old design, as long as I get to what I want. Which, by the way, pretty much I always just type in get.opensuse.org, and then I just go to where I want to go immediately. So I guess, yeah. I mean, this is just like a marketing page.
They
And
don't offer BitTorrent, right? There's no BitTorrent for openSUSE.
I think there might be for Leap.
Hmm.
Let me check. Yeah, they have a torrent
Tumbleweed
file.
might change too much for
It
BitTorrent.
It does. They have a torrent, like you can get the Leap 15.6, a torrent file for that. That's
Hmm.
yuppers. Well, welcome, Prophetic of 777.
Hello.
So,
For like Fedora, I just love that website that has the current releases and like every single option. There's like a list. That's just what I want personally. I know people would hate that, but that just gives you all the options and the BitTorrents, and I can get there anything I want in there. I'll share the link if I find it.
yeah, I
I wanted to,
for a website's fine too. What was that? I interrupted somebody.
I just wanted to jump in. Did you mention that you said Aeon is part of the openSUSE project?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. At some.
Unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. Ever since they went to just being called Aeon, Richard Brown has made it a point to make it known that it's not part of the openSUSE project. It has one or two infrastructure resources left to that SUSE supports, and there's eventual plans to migrate off of that eventually. But
so it doesn't
there's
use
been
micro OS as the base. Is it
no
departed from that? Oh,
no that broke off I think last year.
oh okay.
To use Tumbleweed strictly. But then there's this like big debate. All right, if your source target of Tumbleweed, you're building off of Tumbleweed, it still should be called part of the openSUSE project. Well, if you think that logic holds, then maybe is Ubuntu a project of Debian, and it opens up a whole can of worms. So there's this kind of like interpretation versus what the dev is Richard Brown declaring, like Aeon is not an openSUSE project, it's a standalone project, and he's been trying to make that known, for better or for worse, depending on who you are.
Do they have their
People
own
like that.
website finally? I just want to
Yeah.
ask. They do?
Yeah.
Do you know the link of the website?
Hang on. One second.
It's really interesting the desire to separate it like that. I mean, it's your project. Do whatever you want. That's really what it boils down to.
aeondesktop.github.io. If you consider that its own website, but
Thanks.
yeah, no problem. So there's pros and cons. I think a lot of it goes down to like some politics, some drama, and also just constant misunderstandings about how Aeon is supposed to be versus the vision that the core devs and Richard Brown want it to be. So he wants to have some branding distinction so that people will stop comparing it to Tumbleweed and other projects that come from the same source. Yeah.
I know they were talking at one point about separating all the different projects under openSUSE. Whatever happened with that, Nate? Do you know anything about that? How they were not going to go with the openSUSE umbrella. They were going to be little separate projects and all these things.
Well, I'm not like deep into a lot of it lately because just work stuff, and I have to concentrate more on like the practical. But like what matters. And actually, I've been working a lot more with SUSE lately, like regularly on some projects. So there doesn't seem to be any, like from the SUSE employee side, there doesn't seem to be any kind of a, like they don't think they're not based on the conversations. They're not saying things like about we need to separate out the community from SUSE, but rather everybody I've talked to really thinks community is important. So I don't really know what's come of that. It seems like every once in a while, it all seems very strange to me. And so I'm just kind of like, I don't really get into the weeds in the drama, and I really can't say one way or the other. But it seems like every distribution goes through these moments of extreme drama, and I kind of wish it would stop because it just causes me irritation.
Aeon becoming a standalone name was a byproduct of those conversations, and Richard Brown was just as part of his campaign to separate from a project / branding perspective. He was the first one to say it's called Aeon now, and Kalpa followed suit after that. I guess there's some folks who are not some. I don't know if Leap has done the same, or if it's Leap is still considered, is leaning heavily with that association. There's from that time period when it first got kicked up, people at SUSE wanted the distinction. They kind of like prodded some folks to say, hey, let's start talking about this. Because in the heart of hearts, SUSE does want to have a distinct brand name and does not want to have an SEO nightmare between SUSE documentation and openSUSE documentation. It's a big branding headache for customers who are enterprise customers. And of course, because openSUSE is not really a distribution, it's a project. There's no leadership or no one that can really take a strong stand. And so nothing ever gets officially done in openSUSE, unfortunately, because of that.
Well, I can't speak for that aspect of it necessarily, but because I am an enterprise customer now of SUSE, a lot of the tooling that that I'm using right now to build new things within, like, so we're using SUSE Harvester or Virtualizer Harvester for our virtualization platform. A lot of things like that we're building right now are using openSUSE, and that are and that's coming from SUSE itself. So the developers I work with, or I should say, they're not developers. I don't know what the actual title is.
Engineers or something?
Engineers. Yeah. So we're actually using Leap for a lot of things. I did use Tumbleweed for a few things, but some of the cloud init stuff doesn't work right with Tumbleweed. So it does, but it doesn't. It's not as clean. So
yeah, that's interesting, because usually they try to kind of push you to the enterprise OS version as for licensing and cost purposes. But
no, well, yes. So I do have. So okay. So the nice thing about Leap is, if I have some experimental boxes that I'm doing some stuff with, or setting up like a little rancher cluster or whatever, then I use openSUSE for that, or Leap for that rather. Now, if let's say I'm gonna have some specific, let's say HMIs that I'll have running on the floor, I'm not going to use Leap for that. I'm actually going to use SLE for that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So
there you go,
so it gives me the flexibility to go between the two, depending upon the use case. Do I need support on this? Yes or no from a higher power? Essentially, do I want to have a support contract on this? I have the flexibility now to choose yes or no based on the individual function. Does that make sense? So like I'm building a new ticketing system. I'm building it on Leap because I don't want SUSE to have anything to do with it. But we're gonna be replacing some HMI machines. Instead of running Windows 10, I'm going to put SLE on there because I want those to have a support contract. You know what I'm saying? So now I have this really nice flexible platform that I can use where I can flip the switch and use the open source, it's all on us, or I want to have some support on it from SUSE, depending on what the use case is going to be. So it's a really nice, I can't
beautiful.
Get that. Yeah, it's a real beautiful thing, and I gotta be careful how much further I talk about on this, but just because I don't want to talk about corporate stuff too much on here. But there's some really cool options that using SUSE makes for me. So I can't really. I guess I could do that with Red Hat, but I could use a developer sort of. But it's not to me. It's not quite as free or as a. I mean, yes, it is, but not quite. Because like there's some other like life standing away. But like if I get replaced, or if I decide to step down from my position and hand off to somebody else, I don't have to worry about, do they know how to use, Leap or whatever. They can use the SUSE product and have that support contract. So it makes it a little bit nicer than using Debian. And I think I could probably do it with Ubuntu. I think it would work fine. But I'm kind of upset with apt right now. But that's another conversation for another time. So anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah, but the marketing piece, like, it's always a nightmare with Linux and open source projects and marketing. It's me and Michael Tennell are always banging our heads trying to help people, convince them to make decisions that facilitate more volunteers, more contributors, and more money. And it's like you almost have to argue with people to say how to make the project, get the resources it needs. And it's a never-ending battle, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I think that it'll always be that way.
Yeah, like I kind of like gave up this past year, and said, you know what? Yeah, I guess people want it this way, so there's no use in.
Yeah, there's it's
really weird because like when the big corporate names take open source projects and then they do their own spin to it, we cry a foul. But then when we want to get our own funding together, it's like, I'd rather not do it this way. It's too much work. I just want to program. I just want to be a dev. And it's like, it's more the same, unfortunately. But you can always fork, I guess, for people who have dead projects that end up going over.
Yeah, and I'm gonna comment on this. War Thunder says it seems weird they'd want to separate from openSUSE so much. I think the problem, not so much they want to separate. I think that the problem is the marketing folks at SUSE maybe don't understand what SUSE is. That's actually, I think, where the problem. They don't know how to market it well, and so they're, I think, rather than leverage the community, I think they're trying to separate from the community. But I don't know that that's internally still the same, based on my last conversations I had with people inside the company and my sales rep. So I don't know. I don't know that SUSE really knows what they want to do at this point. So, because the products of SUSE are different than the products of projects in openSUSE. They're very different, largely. So, anyway, weird. All right, I guess we'll go on to this is Dale. I don't know if you want to talk about this, or if you want me to kind of stumble my way through it. So
I can read the part of the transcript that matters.
Yeah. So I guess from Security Now 2040, there's a transcript that
1040.
What'd I say?
You said 2040.
Oops. 1040.
Yeah.
So
10-4.
Yeah, 10-4D. But so I guess a little background. Security Now is a This Week in Tech podcast with Leo Laporte and Steve Gibson, and so but they're talking about the background is they're talking about a with the rise of Linux usage, there's also been a rise in malware. And so is that the gist of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the part that you want to read is what?
I'm going to start at 1 hour, 24 and 1 second.
Okay. Fire away.
All right. So security experts are warning of the prevalence of Linux malware is on the rise. The dropping of Windows in favor of Linux for desktops across various European countries, which is an emerging trend, carries a downside for longtime users of desktop Linux, which is an inevitable increase in the prevalence of malware for Linux. We know that the bad guys go where the potential victims are. From the earliest days of PCs, this has been reliably Windows. This won't be changing anytime soon, but the security community is already beginning to notice a clear uptick in the prevalence of Linux desktop malware. When entire European countries are standardizing on Linux, phishing, email, and social engineering scams are bound to be targeting them, and some of that is bound to overflow into the wider Linux using community. What caused me to generalize this trend was the news that the suspected Pakistani APT-36 threat group had been found to be targeting Indian government employees who are now using Linux workstations. And as you know, as we said, as an increasing number of governments around the world are moving to Linux, a bad link delivers a Linux.desktop shortcut via spear phishing emails. Once opened, the shortcut files download and execute malicious payloads. Security firms CloudSec and, probably saying it wrong, Safirma have linked the attacks to APT-36, which is a group also known as Transparent Tribe. The threat actors first use phishing to distribute a malicious zip archive that has a .pdf zip extension. The unwitting user opens the zip and executes a disguised .desktop file, believing they're opening a PDF. The .desktop file downloads a base 64 encoded ELF binary payload from Google Drive using curl. The ELF binary opens a decoy PDF in Firefox. So now the unwitting employee or user thinks, oh yeah, I opened a PDF like I was expecting. While in the background, a Go binary is executed. The Go binary establishes persistence through GNOME auto-start mechanisms and cron system services. The malware performs environment checks, anti-debugging, self-protection, and sandbox detection, all designed to elude security researchers reverse engineering it. And finally, it establishes a persistent WebSocket connection to the malicious command and control server at port 8080 at a specific IP for remote command execution. The takeaway for our many regular Linux desktop users is that things can be expected over time to generally be heating up on the malware front for Linux.
See, that's interesting, but it seems like to me that's a very easy mitigation there. I mean, one, you have to train your users. Like, it doesn't matter. Our number one threat internally at work is always some sort of a malicious email is primarily the best way
Yes.
to break into a system. So,
Yes. The weakest link in security is the user.
right. So there's not a whole lot. I mean, okay. So through training, you can mitigate a lot of that. Still, it can still happen, still be done. And so I think the next thing is to monitor machines for such things. And there's many mechanisms to monitor networks and machines for such actions. And then probably the next thing would be to have them locked down adequately. Now, I'd be interested in hearing because I think Adam is probably a little more attuned on the security part of the world than I am. I'm getting there. Actually, Ryan Dosky could be probably good for this. But for the Windows systems, you can't execute any system level things. We have that all locked down. That's very easy to do in Linux. That's kind of the default, is you have everything locked down. So I'm wondering if there's maybe are there other mitigations you would use to block something like this?
I mean, you can use like some mandatory access control stuff, like SE Linux and stuff, to try to reduce access to things. Yeah, there's a few things, I guess, like obviously something like an image-based system would make it more difficult to write to.
Right.
But ultimately, the valuable data is in the person's home directory, right? So
Right.
if you've just fooled somebody into running something, then that's the problem.
Right.
Better access controls, better permissions, things like Flatpak and Snap, containerized apps need more permissions. Like, what I mean permissions is like like on Mac OS, for example, you can give, access to your downloads folder or whatever that might be, right? So like an organization should enforce those kind of things. But as far as like home users go, I don't know. I mean, there's always that argument of like, I want control over my machine, but then there's the argument of like, what you're doing is insecure, and ultimately at the home machine, it's like, man, good luck, just what is. But at work, yeah, there are things you could do.
I think for like a home machine, okay, I think you're absolutely right. But that's always been a problem, even in Linux. I mean, okay, the applications weren't crafted toward Linux machines. That was kind of been the way around that. But I do sort of think, like, I don't just click on random crap in the that I get. I mean, if I get a PDF and it's, my renewal for Norton antivirus, I know that it's garbage, so I don't open it. And then I do kind of wonder though, like I wonder if there's a way to open these things in a more sandboxed way, because I can't open a .desktop file without my system freaking out. You know what I mean?
We can create a virtual machine, put it in there.
Signing, application signing,
Yeah.
things like that, like certificate checks, those sorts of things, to see whether it's valid. Like on Windows when you open something and it's like, hey, I don't know what this is. I've never seen this before. Like Windows has the it's I'm trying to remember the name for it. It's basically reputation. That's like reputation-based security.
Uh-huh.
And so they maintain like a database of really common apps that people open, which of course would require some sort of telemetry to be uploaded somewhere. And those common apps are vetted. And when it doesn't know what that is, that's when you get the smart screen pop up where it's like, I've never seen this before, or very few people have opened this. This might not be such a good idea. There's a lot of those things that are implemented.
I've never actually seen that in Windows.
Again, like there's a level of, yeah, it might be disabled by default. I'm not sure. I think it's usually enabled, but these are always as far as like a corporate, enterprise environment, like these are par for the course type things. You're going to have some intrusion detection. You're going to have any number of like, antivirus or some kind of thing running on your system. But when it comes to like safeguarding home systems, you're getting into the whole weeds of like, well, I don't want people tracking what I'm doing. I don't want this privacy issue and all of that. Because sometimes giving up privacy involves getting security in exchange and those things. And I understand completely that feeling, but I think to get reasonable defaults for security on Linux requires probably a step too far for most Linux users. Like they would not be willing to surrender that level of control over their machine for the sake of that.
Would you say though that a typical Linux user I don't mean this offensively to anybody here, but a typical Linux user is an uber nerd?
I mean, by and large, yeah. There's a certain level of that, yeah.
So,
but how many people give Linux to their, elderly parents in the idea of like, oh, well, they can't install, viruses from Windows or whatever, but yeah.
Well, I think at this point,
if they get a PDF about their social security checks or something, and then they open it up, and there you go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but a properly secured system with SE Linux or even AppArmor, and then also like an immutable, like I'm just gonna say Bazite, that would probably be a fairly safe bet for somebody.
That wouldn't stop it.
No, it wouldn't stop
None of that would stop this.
But it would stop. It would stop any sort of deeper level.
Yeah, I mean, it could stop things hiding out, but then you have issues of like, well, your bootloader is not part of that. You can hang out in your bootloader.
But
there's like.
But how would you get from the user level into the bootloader? Like that seems like
right to the bootloader. Yeah.
Not my user can't. Can it?
Why not?
So that requires root access or higher system level access.
Right. But you think you couldn't convince somebody to put in their password? That's where it all falls apart. Right?
Yeah, yeah, right,
Partial-
right. That's where it
Because they're like,
doesn't
Social
oh, hey,
engineer.
like I was doing this thing and asked me for my password, so I just put it in. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I opened this PDF and it asked me for my password for it. Like I guess I have to put in my password to read this PDF. Yeah,
Right,
it's
yeah.
tough.
Yeah, that's not going to stop you on any system, though.
Right. That's the whole point of like the attack in this specific case, and that's why it's so difficult, and that's why a lot of corporations spend money doing like phishing campaigns and like trying to get people to like not do the thing that they think they should and
Right.
think twice about things. And that's easy if you're a cognizant person in a workplace, but that's a little more difficult when you have your 70-year-old mom or dad who remembers when phones
Yeah.
were turned and not dialed on. So,
But the Nigerian prince needed my help.
right.
Yep.
Dude, and my parents are not that old and they're pretty smart people and they get caught by this stuff all the time. Like if you talk to them like in person, you would never think they would fall for any of that. And yet I tell them all the time, if you just think it looks a little fishy, tell me. If it asks you for any kind of information or like you have to click it now, tell me. And they do. And like it's all the time. And like they're not sure, So at least they have me to turn to, but
Right.
yeah. The reality is like it's just difficult. It's just a difficult problem. And the moment you plug one hole, they're going to find another one.
It's true.
Otherwise, why would security people have a job?
It seems like there would be, and this is just, I'm just spitballing here for my, maybe out of ignorance here, but for protecting yourself like from email scams and such like that, it seems like there's probably things available in something like Thunderbird to protect you like with a client. But like if you have like a Google Mail, it seems like there might be some protections within what Google provides.
It's all about layers, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, like, I mean, on Windows, it'll throw up it'll dim the screen and throw up the little, proceed yes or no.
The UAC prompt that everyone clicks yes and doesn't think about, yeah.
Right. Oh man, anytime like if I know what I'm doing and that prompt comes up, I'm like, yes, because I know what this is doing. But
because the reality is people don't look at that as are you sure you want to do this? They look at that as, do you want me to get out of your way? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so ineffective. Now, that being said, Windows is changing things and adding in a setting that I hope they do by default, or at least people should enable by default. It will be the administrator like hardening or whatever they're calling it. Basically, what we've had on Linux where it's going to ask you for your password, not just clicking yes. So by default, if you are a user, even an admin user on your box, if you do something that needs extra elevation, it requires you to put in a password or a Windows Hello biometric. So a little extra step doesn't necessarily mean it's perfect, but it's a little better than just clicking yes. You at least have to consciously do something else.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be one of those things that people then it's just another thing I have to do it to get to my whatever it is.
Yeah, pretty much, but what can you do, right?
Right.
There's also that battle between security and
Convenience.
like he said, it's in my way. People want it to be easy.
I think we should go back to scaring people with computers, back to when computers were scary. They should just be scary again.
Just get normies off computers. I totally agree.
Or just, and maybe this is a bad example, but when you drive a car, it's that you're driving a metal projectile at high rates of speed. Understand that this can cause damage. There's a
Yeah. And as you say that, earlier today, watched an old woman in a big Buick SUV run red light just going 50 miles an hour. So
yeah.
I think the real thing is that after you get to a certain age, you just can't be trusted.
Or you drive past the guy in the SUV that's got a newspaper on his steering wheel. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Or the guy who's asleep in the back of his Tesla. Yeah.
I haven't seen that one, but I hope to.
Yeah.
Not. So, yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, people don't view driving as a privilege. They view it as a right. That I'm guaranteed the ability to drive and whatever. And much in the same way, I buy a computer, I should be able to do what I want. And yeah, to an extent you can, but there's an amount of responsibility you have to take on by doing that. So you're either saying, yes, I am going to take responsibility for anything that happens to my data and myself on this thing. Or maybe I don't want that responsibility and I'd rather someone come in here and like lock it down a bit so I don't have to think about that. Those should be options for people. And I think that second option is just not particularly popular among those in the free and open source software community.
Right, but just as Peter Parker's uncle said, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So if
The rice guy? Uncle
Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah, Uncle Ben. Yeah. Great rice. But isn't that what it boils down to? If you were given a power of whatever it might be, fill in the blank, I don't want to offend anybody, you are responsible for that and the actions, the subsequent actions. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Not easy. And I don't think there's really a technical solution to this. It really comes down to like the give and take of convenience and security, and it also just and liability, right? If you're giving somebody access to your stuff, you want to make sure that they're not going to mess with your stuff. That's what the idea of company IT would be, right?
Yep. Well, I mean, I guess pay an IT professional to monitor your system if you're going to, if you're going to be.
There's plenty of Indian people that are willing to call you, and they will allow you to pay handsomely for them to monitor your stuff.
Sure, but I don't think that's the right answer either.
They all work for Microsoft somehow, but
just don't be raw dogging on the internet. I guess that'd be maybe the
Windows XP dial-up, no firewall. That's what you got to do.
That's right. That's
I
right.
think the answer here is to use something like that company Know Before, where they send out like a test, like a test phishing email.
Mhm.
And if the person actually clicks on it, then start shaming them on their computer.
Dude,
Yeah.
I have seen the metrics for folks at work, and it's astonishing how many people click on that
Oh,
stuff.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
same.
It's actually kind of frightening.
Yeah.
My work does that. They send out test emails, and I've never failed.
Yeah, I send out
We
test
should
emails.
do one for our family
We should. Yeah,
and
I think
make
so.
it outrageous and crazy.
Yeah,
And the
think
second they fail, just roast them.
yeah,
I could you, Grandma. Come on.
heavy duty shaming should go on.
You moron. Yeah.
There should be a reward for a perfect score.
I agree.
Yep, you get one of those happy dance gifts.
Probably a pizza party.
You get one of the Pizza Hut personal pan pizza, like when you did the book it, reading a book when.
Yeah, book it. Get the book it pizza.
Yeah.
No, they just give us a bunch of Little Caesars pizzas and say, "There you go."
I totally read this boring Goosebumps book. Give me my pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
Do that.
What do you like minimum wage workers care if I read this book? Give me my damn pizza.
That's right. Well, now the library's involved, so it's a whole different ball of wax at this point.
Oh,
Although Casey's is pretty good.
they track you, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Man.
Telemetry and everything. It's terrible. All right. Well, speaking of malware and bad actors, have you heard the recent service outage with Arch Linux?
No.
Oh yeah.
So, for March Linux, we want to provide an update on the recent service outage affecting our infrastructure. The Linux Art project is currently experiencing an outage denial of service attack that primarily impacts our main webpage, the Arch user repository, and the forums. We're aware of the problems that this creates and our end users, and will continue to actively work on with our hosting provider to mitigate the attacks. We're also evaluating DDoS protection providers while carefully considering factors including cost, security, and ethical standards. To improve the communication around the issue, we'll provide regular updates on our service status page going forward. As a volunteer-driven project, we appreciate the community's patience as our DevOps teams work to resolve the issue. Please bear with us, and thank you for the support you have shown so far. So workarounds during the service interruption, they give you some details on that. And so one of the things that I can't remember which podcast I was listening to, but I guess even Cloudflare offered some things, but I guess some people have some problems with Cloudflare. I don't even know what those are anymore. It was like a big deal a decade ago, but I don't know what they are. Does anybody remember what the Cloudflare people had with it? Yeah, I don't know. Eris, do you know what that is? You probably know.
I would imagine because they're so big, they like know everything. They're like Google. They have so many people under them.
When you get too big and too good at something, people just get distrustful.
Right, and I understand that, and I totally get it. So we've actually moved some things over to Cloudflare for our protection, and that's made it's made life for us a lot easier as a corporation, the company I work for. So I get it. I understand. I don't know, but I mean, with the craziness that's going on right now, I mean, it seems like maybe move things to cloud. Use Cloudflare services, whichever service it is that you need that they could provide, until you can maybe break away and find a different solution. Or does that make you too complacent then if you're relying on somebody else and not on your own? Methods, I don't know.
I think part of the problem is that Arch is a community-driven distro, and people love that about it. It's not openSUSE, it's not Ubuntu, it's not Fedora. It's completely independent, like Debian.
Yeah, and I totally get that.
But you could say even more than Debian, because Debian, of course, has Ubuntu backing it.
Right. I totally get that, and I understand. But at some point in time, I don't know. It's not 2006 anymore, I guess. So, what
I can tell you, I have a community website for the hobby I'm in, and I've been running it for 17 years now. And when I switched over to putting Cloudflare in front of it, my bot traffic dropped dramatically. I mean, almost to nothing. So I'm a fan. So
yeah, I don't know. It's something to think about. I don't know what the answer is. War of Thunder says, AUR has been taking a beating. I feel bad for them. Yeah, I do too. And I kind of think that, is this just a rough patch, or is this like our brave new world? The internet's not the.
I think you're taking a huge risk having a server out on the internet that is not behind some kind of content delivery system or web firewall.
Isn't that what we were trying to avoid, though, with the internet in the very beginning?
Well, yeah, but that's just the reality of today,
They just want to be able to say, I hacked Arch, by the way.
Yeah. I know. It's very discouraging and highly and very unfortunate at this point, because it seems like, I'm a big proponent of self-hosting and everything else, but you can't do it in the same way as you once did. You almost need those bigger guns, as it were, to keep the pirates away, I guess.
I mean, you could go out there and do a reverse proxy. There's a couple of open source ones out there you could set up, and and you're going to invest the time in getting all that set up and everything, or you can go do it on Cloudflare for free, basically. So,
what's crazy is that they had their security tooling on like their infrastructure that was down, so they
Yeah.
couldn't even get some of their tooling up and running for some of the testing.
So the thing about like using a service like Cloudflare and stuff is like it I can understand people maybe feel a bit icky about it for various reasons, but it's one of those like greater good type things because if they offer simple things like the Argo tunnels and like reverse proxy stuff, the CDN, the those all these services they offer for free, they actually reduce the overall like problematic traffic out there, at least in their network. And so it's like it's kind of like how Let's Encrypt, like they're like we want to put HTTPS everywhere we can because like people shouldn't be running unencrypted stuff. So if we offer this for free, then like it's an overall better thing for everyone, including themselves, right?
Right.
And so it's kind of if the idea is that most people are protected by some sort of CDN, then you know that the effort required to breach those things is at a certain level that it may not be worth the effort, right? And so
Right.
you reduce the overall like smaller attacks, but you'll still have the big ones, but you'll reduce a lot of the smaller potentials. And overall, that just makes for a healthier internet.
Right.
Well, I work for a company that is known for like cybersecurity and also mostly to the realm of like identity management and protection and like paths to privilege. And like a lot of the big attacks aren't even like brute forcing servers. The attacks are like trying to find an engineer who is working from home and is self-hosting something, and they just kind of go through there, and that's the danger zone.
Right. So for those types of scenarios, it's better for someone to offer a free service for those types of vectors of attack to kind of decrease that risk. And it affects, in this case, companies who are like not paying directly for that person to have that Cloudflare on their self-hosted or whatever, but by the nature of that being an option, they now have that extra bit of protection, right? Think of it as sort of a herd immunity type thing.
When I was self-hosting some Docker stuff, experimenting, I used Cloudflare to not only manage the network traffic stuff, but also the signing in to get access to some of my containers, and it was all free. And it took a while for me to figure it out, but like it's like my mind was blown. Like I'm self-hosting, I don't have any ports open, and I have some of the highest levels of security for free.
So
I was just blown away.
Then how does Cloudflare make money off of that?
I think when you want to scale up because you are so in love with their services, it's easier to scale up because to use their free stuff, they do require a credit card on file.
Okay.
And so they're trying to, play the numbers game of conversion for out of 10 people who use our stuff a year from now.
Right,
maybe
that makes sense.
And there's a certain amount of like bandwidth limits and stuff that you might hit, request limits, those kinds of things as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did. I started off free, and then I ended up buying, a monthly account with them. And you get a lot more features too, so,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's amazing how many, if you look back at so many things in technology, the technically superior choice was almost never the one that wins out. Like, it's
That's
amazing.
That's why I really try to hammer home like the marketing communications thing to some of these projects, is because like we want the good guys to win, folks. Like we want the good guys to get the donations to win, because history shows that the best products don't always win. I want the best projects to last long.
They're too busy thinking technically correct is the best kind of correct.
I think we're back online, but I could be wrong.
And I don't know what you guys think, but I think Nate is pretty great. Oh, hey Nate, how you doing? I didn't see you come in there.
Well, we know that's not true, but thanks for lying. I do appreciate that. I did want to real quick cover. I know we're basically out of time here, but I did want to, and then it crashes out again.
Plus, immutable based systems getting popularity. I'm not one to say this, but it makes you wonder, like, will those projects start becoming the more go-to over an Arch-based system?
I would totally run Nix if it didn't break my editor all the time.
It breaks your editor all the time?
Dude, it's always a problem. Like anytime you have any number of like NeoVim plugins, Nix just starts to throw up after a while.
Oh man, I walked off I almost jumped off the cliff with Nix. So I'm sorry, with NeoVim, but I was like, you know what? I'm this is not part of my day job. I have no business near NeoVim. I don't nearly do enough things to warrant this. So I ended up backing out.
That's fair. I'm in the process of switching to Emacs anyway. But yeah.
Oh wow, I heard it's pretty clunky. Like it's pretty a chunky little.
It is.
editor.
It is definitely not as streamlined, but Emacs does more than just editing, so it's kind of a different beast entirely, right?
You see yourself doing those things to warrant it enough?
I don't know. I was doing something different, man.
Because I heard it's like it could be a task manager, email.
It's not even about like gaining efficiencies or whatever. Like I'm already efficient enough with NeoVim. It's just about doing something different.
Oh, okay. So just exploring.
I'm already pretty fast with NeoVim, so
I think that's all the reason you should need right there. That like there's
no, But just think it's neat.
Exactly.
Well, there's a calendar in Emacs, like they're kind of like text-based. Like, it's crazy what Emacs.
I browse the web in it sometimes. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I like it for looking up web documentation.
I do want to get to one more story here before we go. If this thing conks out on me again, then it conks out on me again, and then we're just going to probably end it. And I'll just say, hey, thanks for watching. But I just want to get to this here. Community update on the PinePhone Pro. So everyone, as you may have noticed, the PinePhone Pro is currently out of stock, and the Pine stores. Unfortunately, we have to deliver you the following news: the PinePhone Pro is officially discontinued. We were told it didn't sell well enough to keep production going, but the good news for current owners are the spare parts will still be made for up to 2 years, depending on the demand. Meanwhile, the trusty PinePhone A64 is still live and kicking, and Pine Store plans to keep it rolling for about 2 more years. So no new PinePhone yet. Future with RISC-V. Right now, we've got no insider info on a brand new PinePhone, so don't expect any surprise announcements soon. Pine Stores steering its energy toward other projects, including RISC 5 and a bit of AI, which you probably noticed with the OZ64, Star 64, Star Pro 64, and Alpha 1 launches. One last thing. Later this month, there'll be a small batch of refurbished PinePhone Pros up for grabs. Your final shot at owning one of these little powerhouses. So, anybody surprised?
Not really.
Are we not supposed to be negative?
Not surprised at all.
I have the original PinePhone, and I like to play with it from time to time, but I couldn't get it to use. I couldn't get it to be the phone I was hoping it'd be. And I played with like Plasma Mobile, also with UI ports or whatever it's called now, and UI ports. So I don't know. I'm kind of hoping there'll still be something. I think having these things out there is a good thing. I just don't know that it just doesn't fit, doesn't work for me at this time. But I still play with mine. I'll every couple of months I'll bring it out and I'll just like, yep, still there. So that's awful. I think I'll bring it out again now that I read that article. All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and move on to housekeeping. So much news we didn't get to. I apologize, mostly to Eris, because he puts a lot of work into it, and then I only do 10% of it, and sometimes I feel like a heel. All right, so for housekeeping, next week is the application Appetizer. So let's do RSS feeds. Any objections? Any RSS feed applications, apps, or methods?
Oh wow, I haven't done that in a long time. This should be fun.
All right, so we'll do that. RSS feed apps, applications. I'm sure Eris will have a better way of wording that. All right, so cool. We're all set for next week. I want to get the community free pour here before it got too late and before my internet conked out again. And I don't know. I think I'm gonna push buy on that whole Starlink thing because I'm getting tired of this. I've been dealing with this internet here now for a while, and maybe it'll be worse. Then I can just go back. There we go. So we'll find out. So for our community free pour, Mike, I want to give you the floor. There's been an update to Marklite, right?
Yes. It's mainly just bug fixes, but there's a new version out there, and we're still in I guess this would be the alpha phase of it, but we're getting there. A lot of small changes and optimizations, and I've kind of backed off trying to do snaps and flat packs until I get the application stable. So it's available as a Debian package now, and you can find it at marklite.app. So if you need a markdown viewer / editor, yeah. And
Cool.
it's very fast.
So what kind of? I'm just curious about. You said bug fixes. What kind of bugs did you clear up?
It was things like let me think of one. Like
I know there are Jinda bugs, right?
yeah, they're Jinda bugs. Jinda is my debugger. So I don't know, things like let me pull up the change log and I'll tell you. Just
While you do that, congrats on packaging a Debian package, because that's a feat in itself.
yeah, oddly enough, that was easier than the flat pack and the snap. So,
Oh, really?
So
Oh,
GNU
yeah.
to Linux will probably be like, yep, see, that's why I use Debs, because you flat packs are so hard to something.
let me see.
Yeah, who needs DD when you have Jinda?
That's right, man. That's right. It's change log. Yeah, so I fixed the links in the about dialog box that weren't working. Reworked the open and save as dialogues. Flutter has this kind of generic system dialogues class that you can use. And it really sucks because like I would sit there and click on save as, and it would take anywhere from 4 to 8 seconds to open. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was crazy. And so I'm put the native GTK dialogues in and rewrote all that. And I did some refactoring and made a few of the functions a little more efficient. And that was really it on this update. The last one was a much larger update, so as far as bugs. And I think we're almost there. Jinda found one tonight while we were having the Linux Saloon, and Marty fixed it. So I think so.
Cool.
I'm gonna do some testing tomorrow, and then I'll release another version. So
I'm excited. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet because I
wait a little
I
bit
failed
till
you
get,
once
no,
again.
wait a little bit and let it get good and stable, and get all the kinks out of it.
Well, I just want to install the Flatpak so GNU to Linux can laugh at me and I can make sure that all the effort you're putting into it is worth your time.
Well, I appreciate the people who have tried it, and I surely appreciate Jinda what he's doing. He sent me an email with some of the things he found, and he's like, "Don't get mad at me, but I found these," you know. So I'm like, "Man, you're helping me. You're not hurting me."
That's hilarious. Good old Jinda.
He's a
So
good
sorry
guy.
about that, guys. He told me to look at it, so I did.
Yeah,
I did exactly what you wanted.
Hey, look. I mean, and let me tell you something. The one he found tonight was so obscure. I would have been amazed if someone would have even ran across that agenda.
Oh, that one drove me nuts. I couldn't figure out what every once in a while it happened. I go, what's going on here?
Yeah. So basically what was happening is he would open the open dialog box for the save as, and then cancel it, and then go press the shortcut keys to do it again. And like for Control O to open a file, as soon as he pressed Control, it would open the dialog without even pressing O. So just weird little things like that, where it's not clearing the buffer, those kind of things.
So for our next community of free pour, Jinda is going to go into bug reporting and how to break applications.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you, Jinda's going to get the very first Marklite t-shirt. I mean, even before me. So.
Even before you.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I broke Marklite and then got this t-shirt.
That's right. That's
what it should be.
Yeah, I broke Marklite and all I got was this stupid t-shirt.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for the update on that, and thank you, Jinda, for breaking Marklite. For all of us
I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I'm really good at it.
So we're expecting you to break a few more things. It's hard to make an omelet unless you break a few eggs. So there's that.
Yeah, I need a new job. That's what Anna Rita says.
He's my Q&A, my QA guy. He does a good job. So.
What a guy.
Yeah, I work for t-shirts.
I know. I might have to get him a hat too. A ball cap. Yeah.
We'll break your application for Subway. I don't know.
And then next thing you know, he'll be asking for like a tumbler and.
Oh yeah. Yeah. After the t-shirt, he's gonna expect he'll ask for a shot glass, then a tumbler, then probably a mug.
I really need a Marklite overnight bag too. So, he's a huge help. Thank you for doing that.
No big deal. I'm pretty good at finding stupid stuff that I always do, so I got a lot of practice.
Yeah, I like it. Well, thank you very much, Mike and Jinda, for all your hard work. All right, so I guess that's time for last call. So I guess quickly, anybody have anything else they wanted to plug? I think Dale, you've been doing some streaming.
Tomorrow night, 7:00 Eastern, I will be streaming Ink Stitch live,
Ooh,
a beginner's guide live on
that'll be
3
fun.
platforms.
All right. Can you? I gotta make sure I put that on. I'd like to actually see that. So it'd be good to know. Excellent.
Easiest to find me right here on YouTube, lowtechlinux.com no, youtube.com/lowtechlinux. Slow down. youtube.com/lowtechlinux. We'll get you there.
Sweet. Fantastic. Then GNU to Linux, you've got coming up another Mintcast.
That's right. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. is the Mintcast. We don't just talk about Linux Mint, of course. We talk about Linux and tech in general. In particular, tomorrow I have a few stories I was going to talk about that I was involved in, including talking about the upgrades I made to my camera, my lighting system, and then also I'm going to talk about my woes with recording over-the-air television to the different DVRs that I've had issues with over the last few weeks, and then talk about a couple of interesting programs I use this week.
Sweet. Well, excellent. And then anybody else have anything they wanted to plug? We got Mike, we got Dale, GNU to Linux, Eris. Eris, are you doing your live streams too?
Every day,
That's what I
4
figured.
o'clock in the afternoon.
I must be missing those.
No, I don't do any live streams.
Hey, Jenda, can you lean in a little bit, please? Lean in just a little bit.
Just one a little bit more. So I see more of that.
Come
More
on,
of your.
Jenda. Lean in just a little. Lean in toward the camera a little bit.
Quiet like this.
Okay, perfect. Got it. I'm going to have you on the website with all the swag on.
Ooh,
You
AI
have the
generated.
hat and the t-shirt and everything.
I did want to plug a couple people in the chat here. So Dave's Vintage Apple Tech. He streams on Sundays. I think it starts at 11 Eastern. There's another time. He's in Pacific, but 11 Eastern is when it starts. So you can check that out. So Steve's very own. He was also in the chat. He streams a lot now, although I miss him because I'm either driving or getting ready to leave work, and I don't actually see him. But also Sundays he does stream as well. I think mornings 8:30 a.m. Central, although I've missed most of them because it's been a crazy couple of weeks. So check that out. Then also there's I think they're on break right now, but Linux User Space. Check out that great show, linuxuserspace.show. Get for some reruns and so forth. Also, I have a website I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. You can check that out. I also have a podcast. I have a website called keepinglinux.com. I publish things from time to time, like some 3D printing musings as of late. So Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network, so check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. I want to thank you for all of your support, however you do it, being a part of this conversation here in the Zoom meeting and YouTube stream, as well as everyone for watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back into personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. So that means don't click on any emails that are have weird PDFs attached to it from strangers. Until
Yes.
next time, see yous.